When it comes down to arcade shooters, I am a terrible player. I have a hard time keeping myself alive while also admiring the environments and the enemies. I think some of the hardcore shooter players would call me a casual in the sense that when I can, I will use infinite continues. Not all games in the shooter genre, but most. I'm the type of player who enjoys what I see even if I'm being blown up more than half the time. Prime example being the Metal Slug series, a series so focused on dodging bullets and one-hit kills, it practically fits right in within the shooter genre. But for me, it is a game with interesting enemies, locations, and situations. And that sort of gameplay is why I enjoyed my time playing Raystorm for the PlayStation 1. I came across Raystorm in a box of games I got from work, some legitimate copies of games and some Chinese bootlegs, Raystorm being one of the latter. It had two logos on it, Ultra Players and Tokyo Game Show 1997. From what I could tell from limited online information, it was a Hong Kong bootleg, as the bottom of the disc was silver instead of the normal PS1 black. Interested, I put it in my PS1 and found a game that was quite good looking for the time, beating out Star Soldier Vanishing Earth for the N64 in terms of graphics, which by the way came out a year later in 1998. I'm only mentioning this because it's one of the few examples I can think of that I've played around this time. But what really caught me was the gameplay, and once I learned that there was an HD release for the Xbox 360, I had to check it out. Luckily, there was a demo, and I was impressed enough to check it out. As I was saying, the gameplay is what caught me. As the targeting system they used, I don't really remember seeing it very often in the genre. As you move your ship and your target reticle goes over enemies, your ship will lock onto enemies, as many as its current ability can, attacking those below you and those on the same level. Then, depending on your control type, auto or manual, it is either a separate button push from your normal shoot button, or the same, allowing for a barrage of homing lasers that is different for each of the ships you can choose. There are initially two ships, R Grey 1 and R Grey 2. But there are a few others which you can unlock later on when certain tasks are completed. The differences in the ships seem to be what attacks seem cooler and how easy would you like the game to be, as some of the ships will offer some disadvantages along with their advantages. So starting with R Grey 1, it has a bigger attack width for its lasers, but with R Grey 2, it has greater attack power with a smaller attack width. Basically, how comfortable do you feel playing the game, and which ship works out better for you overall, are the main questions. As you destroy certain enemies, like the ones colored red, you will release an upgrade that you can collect. Green pickups will increase the number of lock-ons you can have, red will increase the power of your shots by 1 when you collect 3 of them, yellow will increase the power of your shots by 1, and blue upgrades will level your lock-on limit and shot power to the max. You will lose these upgrades when you die, but you will also be given a chance to collect them back as they float slowly from the top of the screen to the bottom. When overwhelmed by enemies and weapons fire, some of the ships have an SP attack, which when the bar is full can deliver an explosive attack that will damage heavy enemies and destroy lighter ones. This bar will fill as you attack enemies and will refill completely when you die. As I've stated, I am really bad at staying alive in shooters. I've replayed this game quite a few times, dying at either near the same location or a little bit further than that. The only way I was able to beat this game was with unlimited continues, which are not available from the beginning. I had to use continues 50 times in order to unlock the ability to choose infinite continues from the options menu, which to be honest sucks for those of us who want to enjoy the game and know that without infinite continues, we would never get to the end. After playing it regularly, I started to cheat the system, killing myself off in the first level a few times, and restarting so I could rack up the continue counter quicker. I know the shooter genre is filled with hardcore players, but putting infinite continues behind a sort of game time wall sucks. I know I sound defeatist, but I'm not the type of person who would dedicate the time to memorize dodging and movement patterns. When you start the game, you'll notice two different modes, arcade and extra. The arcade mode is trying to closely mimic the look and feel of the original arcade version, and the extra mode was added to the console ports to include more of a story, different colors for some of the enemies and bosses, different boss attacks, more enemies in various locations, a different soundtrack, and an increased difficulty. When speaking of difficulty, you might have a hard time listening to me after complaining about infinite continues, but this game has the most difficulty levels I can remember seeing for a game. You can choose from 8 difficulty levels in the menu, and I can say from experience that the default setting is hard enough for me. When you finish Arcade and Extra mode, you will unlock the 13 Plane mode, which is a mode for hardcore players, giving you 13 ships and changing which ship you pilot next when you die. If you beat this mode, you'll unlock level selection for Extra and Arcade modes, an achievement, and maybe self-satisfaction for finishing a really hard challenge. One of the reasons to get Raystorm HD is that it is high definition, making an already good-looking game look better. While it might not be the best reason for those with the PlayStation 1 version to get it, it's pretty nice to play on a bigger screen with crisper graphics than the PS1. On the audio side, I found it interesting that there were 2 different soundtracks used for the Arcade and the Extra mode. They are varied in tone, sometimes being energetic, and sometimes being pretty mellow. After a while, though, the music doesn't really do much for me, as it feels like it just fits the genre but doesn't do anything to be catchy. Overall, it's a challenging shooter that might turn off those who aren't into the semi-hardcore difficulty. Other than that, it doesn't really bring anything new to the table other than the lock-on system. It can be considered a competent shooter with some beautiful environments, polished graphics, and some unique ships. While it might not be the best shooter that I've played, it's certainly one of the good ones. If what you've seen or heard has convinced you to check the game out, there is a demo on the Xbox 360. That demo will stop right before the first boss, trying to entice you with a cliffhanger. The game currently goes for around $15, so if that seems a little steep, then you probably won't want to buy the PS1 version, as I've seen that go for $30 or above. Thanks for watching. Any comments, likes, or dislikes on this video, or any of my other videos would be appreciated. By clicking these annotations, you can check out some of my other videos. Also, if you want to get in contact with me, message me on YouTube or Twitter.